We have a crowd that is amped for a main event, and it's about to happen. Chase Stevens and Andy Douglas, it's all come down to a tables match.
Well, these guys have been battling one another for months here in SAW. These guys, former World Tag Team Champions together, former best friends. Now it's personal. These two guys are top quality athletes anywhere in the world. They could be headlining. They are here at SAW, here at the Tennessee State Fairgrounds Sports Arena, and tonight something will be settled. You will have to take your opponent and throw them through a table to be declared the victor in this match. Let's go ahead and take a look how all this began here at SAW.
You know, about a year ago, I sent a shockwave through the wrestling world. When I climbed up out of that ring, took that mask off, Chase, right then and there, we could have avoided every bit of this. You could have reached out your hand, shook my hand, and said, Andy, thank you. Thank you for all the money. Thank you for all the titles. Thank you for all the girls. But once again, you're too stupid to get the point. So what do? You keep coming back for more. Chase, it's real simple. I don't want you in SAW. I don't want to ever see your face again. So once again, we tried to prove a point by beating you down in that parking lot. You could have walked away. That's all you would have had to done. Just turn around and walk away. But you're too stupid to get this point, Chase. I smash a bottle over your head. Could have walked away. But you keep coming back for more. I thought you would have understood when me and Santel lifted you up and broke your back through that table. But again, you didn't walk away. So after this week's tables match, you're not going to have that option to walk away. They're going to carry you out in a body bag, Chase.
Here I am in our hometown, looking out, remembering a lot of the good times, a lot of the bad times. It's a lot of light that's been shined down on the subject. So I look back, I remember how many times we walked these streets. You'd pick a fight and walk off. Leave me to finish every bit of it. I always had your back, Andy. That time, I thought we was brothers. We were a tag team, thought we was on top of the world. I was very blind to everything going on. I didn't fathom it would ever come down to what it's come down to. I was there for you as a tag team partner, as a friend, as a brother. And just like walking down these streets, you turned your back, you walked off. You said I should have walked away. Why is that, Andy? Because that's what you would have done? Because that's what you've always done? You've always turned around, just walked away, left me to finish it? Oh no, Andy. I'm not gonna walk away. I'm here to finish it. And that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna stand my ground, and I'm gonna finish what you started 1 year ago. I'm going to put you through a table, and it's gonna be a violent end.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back into the Sawmill tonight, the fairgrounds here in Nashville, Tennessee. It is Michael Graham along with Reno Riggins. And Reno, I usually say we are situated ringside, but tonight we are situated high above the proceedings here in the balcony of the fairgrounds. And I'm actually pretty glad we're not closer because things are going to get very dangerous between that man right there, Andy Douglas, and Chase Stevens.
Well, this is probably going to be one of the most dangerous matches that we've ever had here at SAW, a tables match. Pinfalls do not count. You have to take your opponent and throw them through a table. My good, and actually, I'm glad we're sitting up top myself.
Absolutely. And you mentioned pinfalls do not count, nor is there any disqualifications in this match, with one caveat. Now, Freddie Morton insisted that there would be no outside interference in this match. Outside interference on behalf of either one of these competitors will constitute a disqualification.
Well, earlier in the week, he sat down with Paul Adams and Andy Douglas. I'm talking about Commissioner Freddie Morton, and he said, hey, we got to have a decisive winner.
Listen to the crowd reaction here as Chase Stevens music begins, and there he is, Chase Stevens, Andy Douglas, former World Tag Team Champions together in the Naturals, and now bitter enemies. We have seen Chase Stevens do everything he can to get his hands on Andy Douglas time and time again. We have seen wars in the ring, outside of the ring, at autograph signings, in the streets, outside the Sawmill between these two men. Tonight, it all comes down to this.
Well, wrestling has gone out the window.
Absolutely.
This right here is just a pure hate fest between Chase Stevens and that man right there, Andy Douglas.
Mark Owen, the man in the middle for this one, he's not there to do any counting. He is only there to ring the bell when one of these two men go through a table. And speaking of bells, it has rang. This crowd right now is absolutely amped. They have been talking about this one all day waiting outside Reno. It is Chase Stevens and Andy Douglas in a tables match right here at the fairgrounds. Now, before things get too out of hand here, I have to mention to you what we have seen tonight, real quickly, what we have seen tonight from Mark Anthony. That was the most disturbing footage, I think. I cannot even put it to words.
Well, not only is Mark Anthony a sick and twisted individual, but that was the first that I'd seen of that footage. And I tell you what, it makes me absolutely sick to my stomach.
I can only assume Hammerjack has seen the footage as well. He has been very, very reserved, very, quite honestly, out of pocket. We have heard very little from Hammerjack in the past few days. I have no doubt that that was a disturbing video for him to watch as well. Had to touch on that subject for a minute as we get going here, and Andy Douglas will quickly bail out of the ring after 3 right-hand shots from Chase Stevens.
With Chase Stevens with a boxing background, he can throw the heavy lumber, and Andy Douglas is feeling the heavy lumber at the beginning of this match.
Andy Douglas there on the outside throwing the table over in frustration. That table could be the one, it's a tables match. The idea is to put your opponent through the table. Could it be that one? Could it be one over there under us here that have the souvenirs on it? Could it be the one in the concession stand over there? If one of these two men go through a table, the match is over. Any other result is out the window, as we talked about a few moments ago. Again, taking in consideration that outside interference will constitute a disqualification. A big shot right there by Chase Stevens, and another one wants to send Andy Douglas in for the ride. Off the ropes, no. Hanging on, and once again bailing out. Look at Paul Adams.
Whoa.
Now, Paul Adams, a little feisty there on the ringside, to use a word, and Chase did not appreciate his candor, not one bit.
Well, the intensity here in the sports arena tonight, you can just feel the electricity. This is big main event action right here between Andy Douglas and Chase Stevens.
And we have more of this main event to come. Right now, we take a break. We'll be back with more of Chase Stevens and Andy Douglas in a tables match. We are Saw Wrestling, a cut above the rest. Welcome back in, ladies and gentlemen. We're at the fairgrounds in Nashville, Tennessee. Michael Graham and Reno Riggins. We are here watching Andy Douglas and Chase Stevens in this tables match, our main event. Chase Stevens, nice job ducking under. Now the two men trading right hands in the center of the ring, both of them. Oh, and then a shot right there to the eyes, thumb to the eyes by Andy Douglas, and that staggers Chase back into the corner.
A lot of posturing at the very beginning of this match with Andy Douglas. Andy Douglas seems like he doesn't want to get caught with something here, but he's getting caught with some big right hands thrown by Chase Stevens.
And the athleticism showed by Chase Stevens as well. And look at him go right for that table on the outside. He tried to put Andy Douglas up and over the top rope and through that table there ringside. Andy Douglas, a great job holding on for dear life. And this match continues, but Chase Stevens follows Douglas out. He wants to put Andy Douglas' head through the table there. No! Oh, and it's Andy Douglas with Chase Stevens down into the table. Now, that will not cause a bell. This has to be you have to go through the table. You actually have to be put through the table for this to count. So that obviously is not the case, what just happened there.
Well, it looks like now
But now maybe
he's going to try to hook it for a
suplex here would get it done. Stevens able to block it. Stevens once again becomes dead weight and blocks it again. He wants to bring Douglas over, and on the outside on a thin pad there over top of concrete. Andy Douglas goes crashing down hard.
Wow, normally at the Sawmill, you would have seen him go down on the hard concrete floor. But due to the rules at the Tennessee State Fairgrounds Sports Arena, we had to have a little extra padding out there for this event.
I think little is the key word there. You can see there's not a whole lot to it, as a matter of fact. Chase Stevens now once again manipulating the table and wants to put it in the position that he feels he can put Andy Douglas through that table and win this match. These two men have gotten off to a big start. Neither one of them forgetting that it's a tables match. They have both tried to put their opponent through the table already, and we're still in the early stages.
I think both these guys know that they're in the softening up opponent period. Trying to take your opponent and soften him up so that you can manipulate him and get him through a table.
Chase Stevens dumps Andy back into the ring. Andy Douglas right now on one knee, obviously shaken up after taking that suplex on the outside. What is Chase Stevens going to do with him here? Wants to, no. And Andy Douglas finally gets enough wherewithal to figure out what's going on there, and he will once again head to the outside, but he will not get far without Chase Stevens bringing him back. And a chop right there, right in front of our fans here at the fairgrounds, and there's another one. You can see the fans in the front cringe when they hear that flesh-on-flesh contact right there between Andy Douglas and Chase Stevens. A thumb to the eye, and now Chase Stevens' head goes crashing into the railing there at ringside.
Boy, this capacity crowd here at the Tennessee State Fairgrounds Sports Arena are in for a battle here tonight with these two men.
It looks like Andy Douglas is reaching under the ring for, I assume it's a table. Yes, a second table now has been brought into the fray here. One still sits inside the ring, completely folded up at this point. It wouldn't do either of our competitors very good right now. Andy Douglas, instead of going back into the ring for that one, gets a new one, but Chase Stevens takes that time to get his wits back about him. A shot to the midsection and a right hand once again staggers Andy Douglas. Look out here. Oh, a shot right there, and Andy Douglas goes down hard.
Wow, just think about the strength to pick up a table like that and haul it through the air with such velocity to take a man off his feet.
Got him right in between the eyes, it looked like, at least in the side of the head of Andy Douglas. He may have deflected some of that blow, but certainly not all of it. He took the brunt of it and is hurting for certain there on the outside. Chase Stevens may feel an opening here. Oh, a big right hand right there. He's winding up and really hitting him with those big right hands is Chase Stevens. And now that he has Andy in a little bit of a world of hurt, he's going to go after Paul Adams. It looks like Andy Douglas, however, has regained his composure, and back on the offense goes Andy Douglas with a clubbing blow to the back of Chase Stevens.
Paul Adams looking like Ronaldo Nehemiah running around that ring. Got his track shoes on.
Not right now, actually. He's sucking for air right now on the outside, to be honest with you, after one lap around the ring. It's some cardio right there, folks. Andy Douglas once again now trying to pick up Chase Stevens for a slam, but Chase Stevens, again, he is still, that looked like maybe it got Andy in the forearm there, and right down the leg of Andy Douglas as that table is dumped over on him. Again, you spoke about softening up your opponent. Obviously, Chase Stevens nor Andy Douglas at this point is ready to go through that table, so to speak. They have both realized the trouble they've been in and have been able to sort of counter out of situations where they could have lost the match.
My goodness. This is turning out to be...
a DDT right there, and a big one right in the center of the ring. Andy Douglas' bell has been rung. He may be out. He is flat on his back in the center of the ring.
If Chase Stevens can get this table up and maneuver Andy Douglas over through it, we may have a winner right here.
Andy Douglas just now stirring much because of the urgings of his boss, Paul Adams, on the outside. Chase Stevens has set that table up in the corner.
He's telling everybody right now, we're going to end it right here.
That's what he's thinking. Let's find out if that's the case. Two handfuls of Andy Douglas's ears. That'll cauliflower ear in a minute. And he wants to put Andy Douglas through. What a great job there. The baseball slide on the outside, and Andy Douglas lives on. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to take another break. When we come back, more of our main event. It's Douglas and Stevens tables match on Saw Wrestling. Back here in our main event, Andy Douglas and Chase Stevens outside of the ring right now. Looks like Andy Douglas is going to try to take Chase back into the ring at this point. I am Michael Graham, Reno Riggins here, and Reno, we haven't had any near misses, but we've had a lot of brutality during the break.
Oh, definitely so. Seemed like Andy Douglas was on the defense there for a second. Now he's back on the offense. And Chase Stevens may be in a world of hurt here. Oh, and down he goes.
Big right hand, and now Andy Douglas saying the table is ready. Chase Stevens is ready. If I put my opponent through there, that is a win for me, and that is exactly what he's looking for. But no, Chase Stevens may be playing a little bit of possum there, got the legs up, and one of those boots right under the nose, it looked like, of Andy Douglas, and Andy Douglas once again goes down hard.
Chase Stevens in tremendous shape. I believe he's been training his whole life for a match like this right here. I mean, at some point, you start asking yourself, do I want to be here? And when that starts in, your body has to pretty much take over to give you that extra energy and extra boost to keep on competing.
Trying to put Andy through the table. No! Oh, a drop toe hold. The table did not break, but Chase Stevens' head bounced off that table, and the damage may very well have been done.
Wow.
What a tremendous maneuver and a fantastic athletic maneuver by Andy Douglas. Oh, and the table now crashing down across Chase Stevens' prone body on the mat.
Once again, that table hits Chase right in the head. That's twice when Chase went down, his head caught the full brunt of that on the table.
You can see the results as Chase Stevens has been busted open. Wow. Chase Stevens is bleeding and bleeding profusely right now. Andy Douglas smells the blood in the water, if you will, and goes right after that forehead of Chase Stevens, and a right hand will put Stevens down once again.
Chase Stevens is busted open, and he has a very nasty cut over his right eye. My goodness.
And now Andy Douglas with the full weight of his body across the back of Chase Stevens, draped over that bottom rope. Mark Owen is there to ask him to stop, but there's no counting in this match. No DQ on a move like that. No counting a 3 count when shoulders are down. The only way to win this match is to put your opponent through the table, and Andy Douglas is trying to get Chase Stevens into a position where he can do just that. Chase Stevens may be in a big trouble here.
What a fitting place to have such an epic battle. The Tennessee State Fairgrounds Sports Arena. We've seen legendary matches with Bill Dundee, Jerry Lawler, the Fabs, the Sheepherders, and now Andy Douglas and Chase Stevens.
Oh my goodness, down goes Stevens. You can barely make out his facial features at this point. There is so much blood. You can see the blood splattered on the mat. Oh, and there you see a pool of it forming under the forehead of Chase Stevens. Andy Douglas gloating over his work now in the ring. Mark Owen once again is there. Not much Mark Owen can do. Not much Mark Owen can do, and Andy Douglas now once again all over Chase Stevens.
Just peppering the head of Chase Stevens, Andy Douglas. Man.
Much like a Cheyenne brave who wipes the blood of the man that he's trying to vanquish across his chest, and sort of a ceremony there. Andy Douglas right now is really going after Chase Stevens. He has said many times that he wants to end the career of Chase Stevens, and this could be the match where it could happen.
My goodness. And this crowd here at the fairgrounds are starting to get behind Chase Stevens 100% with the chance of go Chase go.
Chase trying to make it back to his feet. You can see he is absolutely on jelly legs. He's already lost quite a bit of blood, it must be said. Andy Douglas on the outside of the ring. I think he was out there looking for more plunder. Now he's got Chase. Oh, my goodness. Almost a Russian leg sweep motion back into that metal barrier separating the ringside area from our front row. You can see the fans in the front row looking at the cut across the forehead of Chase Stevens, and now Andy Douglas will move in. And ladies and gentlemen, we have to take another break. When we come back again, we continue with our main event. Oh, Andy Douglas and Chase Stevens. Oh my goodness, here at the fairgrounds. Back here in the fairgrounds, Nashville, Tennessee, the Sawmill for the night. And not much has changed since you've been away, ladies and gentlemen. Chase Stevens continues to take a beating at the hands of Andy Douglas. However, wait a minute, he counters that move, blocks it, and Chase Stevens puts Andy Douglas into that metal chair ringside.
Chase Stevens just going on pure instinct at this point. The blood is spewing down his face. He can't even see where he's at this point.
And now once again, the ring apron is lifted up. Chase Stevens going underneath to find yet another table. Oh my goodness, one of these will be the one. I have to assume that one of these two men are going to go through to end this carnage, but that's exactly what it's been so far. You can see on Chase Stevens' face the results of what has happened so far in this match. Andy Douglas, meanwhile, in the background there, barely being able to make it to his feet at this point. As a matter of fact, he is yet to do so.
Well, I tell you what, if you're sitting there and you're watching at home, we're at the Tennessee State Fairgrounds Sports Arena, and if you haven't realized it by now, Big Time Wrestling is back at the Fairgrounds Sports Arena.
You mentioned earlier the epic battles that have taken place in this arena, and this one has begun to live up to some of those epic battles, probably moving its way up the list of those epic battles. As a matter of fact, you can see Chase Stevens, my goodness, he is just red with blood all across his face, dripping down his chest. Andy Douglas now trying to beg off a little bit here. I don't believe Chase Stevens is going to have a whole lot to do with this. No, I'd say that's a definite no, and a shot right in the jaw with the boot of Chase Stevens, and he now is a house of fire going after Andy Douglas. Big drop kick right there, and Chase Stevens has found a reserve deep, and he has put Andy Douglas back down to the mat.
He told Andy Douglas he was number one, and let me show you why. Wow, what a drop kick that was.
A big elbow right there, and now Chase Stevens once again turns his attention to the table on the outside. No, maybe he's going up top here trying to soften up Andy Douglas, as you said earlier in this match. Chase Stevens going up, and oh no! Mark Owen takes that one right in the ear, right in the side of the head, and our referee is down and out. And now Chase Stevens hooks him. Oh, the fisherman suplex right there, and Andy Douglas is in trouble.
My goodness, it looked like Andy Douglas.
David Young!
Oh no!
David Young has hit the ring. David Young of the A-Team is here. The referee is down. The referee is out. He took the drop kick off the top rope from Chase Stevens a few moments ago and has no idea what's going on. And Reno, this is a fresh man in David Young. No, he's going to put him through the table on the outside. David Young can't get him up though. Chase Stevens fighting back. Gotta be pure instinct here. Chase Stevens with right hands for David Young. Now, what's to send Young? Chase Stevens goes in, holds on to the ropes. Young over through the table.
David Young probably fell from 12 feet. Did you see that?
David Young goes through the table. That was meant for Andy Douglas or Chase Stevens on the outside. Meanwhile, Andy Douglas is back up on the inside. Chase Stevens is in trouble again. Andy Douglas, no, misses with a clothesline. A shot right there. Chase Stevens with a couple of right hands. Now it's Stevens into the ropes, comes off under a clothesline. Andy Douglas follows it in with the high knee.
Oh, did he ever plant him with that knee right up under the chin? Chase Stevens must be out.
You can see the blood dripping down the face, dripping down the forehead of Chase Stevens. David Young is ringside, broken in half just like the table that he's under, and that is under him, I should say, and Andy Douglas is the only man moving in the ring.
My goodness.
Oh, and now look at Andy Douglas looking for a count. That'll do you no good, and he realizes it.
Wow.
Paul Young telling him, grab the table and put him through it.
Paul Adams out there trying to direct traffic, if you will.
Mark Owen, dead weight in the ring, meanwhile. He did take an enormous shot from Chase Stevens off that top rope. Of course, it was Andy Douglas that, it seemed to me, pulled Mark Owen into the path of that missile drop kick, but I'll have to watch a replay on that to be certain once this is through. And now it's Chase Stevens into the table. It doesn't break under the clothesline super kick with the kick there, and Andy Douglas goes down like a ton of bricks.
My goodness, where does Chase Stevens find the wherewithal to be able to stop himself from going through the table and then connecting with the super kick on Andy Douglas?
Now what is Paul Adams saying? Here comes Rick Santel. Rick Santel now in the ring in the numbers game. We talked about it week after week after week. And even though Rick Santel has had some troubles with his fellow members in the A-Team as of late, he is here, it looks like, to help Andy Douglas win this tables match.
That Santel slam.
Oh, he tried to back into the ropes. Andy Douglas, he doesn't realize, oh my God! Rick Santel through the table. Andy Douglas didn't realize who had made contact with him. Double clothesline.
Oh man, both men are down.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is chaos. We've got to take one more break. When we come back, we will take you through until the conclusion of this one. Andy Douglas and Chase Stevens. The Sawmill is electric. This is Saw Wrestling.
There.
We're back, ladies and gentlemen. The fairgrounds, myself, Reno Riggins, completely out of breath, almost completely spent. I can only imagine what the men in the ring, well, one man in the ring, you can see our referee is down. He is being tended to. Chase Stevens and Andy Douglas have fought all over this building. You can see Chase Stevens completely busted open. Andy Douglas in a bad way. Now fighting into the crowd here at the fairgrounds, our sawmill for tonight. You can see this massive crowd, and well, just so they're not fighting in the dark now, it looks like some light has been shed on the subject, and a big shot right there as Douglas goes hard into the cinder blocks.
And you've got Commissioner Freddie Morton with a couple of officials. Oh, low blow there by Andy Douglas. But you've got a couple of officials down there trying to attend to Mark Owen, the official that is down. You've got Commissioner Freddie Morton down at ringside trying to direct some traffic, and this thing is just spilled out into the people here at the Fairgrounds Sports Arena.
And the trash is spilled out onto the floor as that trash can went right into the busted open forehead of Chase Stevens. You can see a huge smear of blood on that trash can back there in the background of this shot, as Andy Douglas now once again, it seems, has control. No, Chase Stevens, just as I say that, with a shot. Oh, my goodness, I'm glad nobody was on the other side of that men's room door as Andy Douglas had just met it head on.
You see our security trying to hold the people back. We've got Brewster, we've got Bobby Copeland trying to tell everybody to clear back, look out, because these guys, they have full reign of this building. We're going to have a victor somewhere in here.
Chase Stevens with a shot and elbow to the back of the neck there. He's trying to clear a path right now. Absolutely.
He's telling the people to get up, move out of the way. Look
because
out.
We're fighting here, and you don't want to be a part of this. It's like getting too close to a dog fight right now. Get out of the way, people.
If you don't, you'll get bit.
Andy Douglas in a bad way. Chase Stevens now. No, it's reversed, and Chase Stevens up and over into the seats there in the front row here at the fairgrounds. Oh my goodness, that had to hurt. I think Chase Stevens tried actually maybe to jump over that front seat. It caught his foot, and he went flipping over into the front row, and that really must have done some damage to the back of Chase Stevens.
At this point, I don't see how Chase Stevens is continuing. I really don't.
Well, he's not able to make it back to his feet at this point without the help of his former partner, Andy Douglas. And to call them bitter enemies at this point is an understatement. This has become more than personal.
Well, he's not going to throw him in the concession.
I was just hoping there's a table right there, I guess, and that may be the what's on the mind of Andy Douglas, but instead right into the fencing here. Oh, and a shot to the midsection, and now Andy Douglas sees that table there, and just like I mentioned earlier, it could be any table in the building. That one,
that's the box-off table, right? The box office table right there.
Now we're going to have to apologize to somebody for their drink being on the floor. There she goes to pick it. At any rate, Chase Stevens right now is in a bad way, and now it's Andy Douglas into the cage there under those steps here that lead up into the balcony of the fairgrounds.
The amount of hatred and emotion between these two men, that's why these two guys are carrying on right now. My goodness.
I mentioned at the beginning of this match how dangerous this match can be. You can see how dangerous it can be etched across the face of that man right there, Chase Stevens. You can see Andy Douglas. He is just on wobbly legs himself, and now it looks like we don't need anybody throwing down any steps here, certainly, as Chase and Andy look to be taking Chase up toward the steps, and I'm sure, oh my goodness, you can see that shot right there, and what was behind the cage actually went flying after Andy Douglas' head rammed into it. And now it looks like the danger is going to be amped up just a little bit, as I don't know if I like where this is headed. Both Andy Douglas and Chase Stevens headed up here into the balcony with us, Reno.
This is a very dangerous situation, as we have Commissioner Freddie Morton over there trying to get Mark Owen still out of the ring, like referee Kurt Herron is going to take over this match. This is good. Look at there. Look where these guys are. They're in the upper back.
You can see the height there. You can. Wait a minute now, the table is still set up underneath. You can just make it out right there, and Chase Stevens has some evil intentions in his mind, and he's got Andy Douglas halfway up on that railing. You can see the crowd below, some of them shocked, some of them cheering Chase Stevens on. Andy Douglas is saying, wait a minute, Paul Adams! Paul Adams! The referee's nowhere to be found as they're tending to Kurt Herron, and now Andy Douglas takes over. Andy Douglas has Chase Stevens. Wait just a minute. Chase Stevens is up over the railing. Andy Douglas with a shot. Andy Douglas with another one. I see a referee just now running in. No! Stevens motionless on the floor. We're looking at a replay. Concrete only. Ladies and gentlemen, there was a winner in this match. It was Andy Douglas. As you can see, Chase Stevens. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back next week with more SAW Wrestling. We are a cut above the rest.